Let's go ahead and plug in this water kettle. Power on, it should turn blue. I'm not sure if this is gonna snap off immediately. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. Today we are going to be reviewing the Dabbsson 600L power station. These guys are starting to get some great tech in them. They have the LifePo battery, safe battery technology, and we're gonna unbox this and see what it's all about, hook it up to the house, see how different charging situations go on this. Also hook up some appliances and see what it can handle. So anyway, let's get started. Okay guys, so we'll just start with the unboxing. It's coming in a branded, just regular brown cardboard box. Not sure if they're going to change this as the production goes on. Here is the instruction manual, nicely packaged, black foam on top. Then we have a very well protected power station. Here we go. Man, it reminds me much of the DJI Power 500 power station, although this is a 600, so a little bit more power. And let's see what we have in the accessory box. So a big old thick power cord that's going to plug into your wall for wall charging. And the only other thing is a lighter adapter for your car with a nice little Velcro strap here. So it looks like an XT60 to go into the machine, and then this will go into your lighter adapter outlet in your car, so you can go ahead and charge that. So far, I am really liking the form factor. We got that one-handled carry operation here. We have venting on the back and the front. There's actually venting right there as well. We have our LCD readout. Let's take off this protecting layer here. Now this is cool. This is what all power stations I think of this size should have, is an LED light, because you could use it as a flashlight if you needed to. Power button, two 120 outlets here. The AC off and on switch once it's powered on, power switch there. We have our lighter adapter right here. This will be our 12 volt DC output. So if you're running like fridges and stuff on the go, you can have that DC output power, which a lot of them do run off of more efficiently. That's your DC power button off and on there. And then we have a PD 30 watt and a PD 100 watt USB-C connectors here. And then these are USB-A connectors, both 5 volts, 3 amp. And there is one more 12 volt AA jack right here for other peripherals like drone batteries and other stuff. Usually use that as well. So looking good so far. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a click to power on. Just pressing and holding, and let's see what we got here, guys. Immediately upon power up, I'm seeing 61% charged from the factory. We have a wireless icon blinking here. That's great. So we're going to be able to download an app and connect and monitor this from our phones. We have a 0 watt output and a 0 watt input. It's going to run for 99 hours just powered up like this. Let's take a quick look at this light. So hitting it once when it's powered on, turns it on. We have a little beep as well. Brighter and blinking. Okay, so it's basically one press to power on the light, one press to make it brighter, one press to, is that SOS? Yeah, so it's an SOS blink basically. And then one more click to turn it off. Kind of wanted to look at the rest of it before we delve further in. So, this is interesting. This really reminds me of the DJI build quality. It looks like it's using the same color of plastic, and actually a very durable looking plastic as well. Maybe they're getting it from the same source, I'm not sure. Our 2 input ports on the back, only for AC and DC charging. Remember, you're going to need that XT60 plug on your solar panels if you do decide to charge this with solar. On the other side, we have a branding right here, Dabbsson 600L. And that's basically it, guys. Very simple. It looks like very high build quality, which I'm excited about. Before we get started testing this thing out, I just wanted to check out the manual. It's always good to know if manuals are up to par. This one looks like it's thick and has a lot of specifications in it. Capacity on this guy is a surprising 768 watt hour, even though it's only a 600 brand. That's great. There is the weight of it, 8 kilograms. Does have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth as well. Awesome. And we can see the capacity of our output ports. So AC times 2 is the 600 watt. That's probably how it gets its name. It can actually surge to double that, which is 1200 watts, albeit probably only for a few seconds, but we are going to test that. Here are all the other specifications. AC charge maximum 600 watts, and solar charge is going to be a maximum between 12 and 30 volts, 13 amps max, and 200 watts max. So basically a 200 watt solar panel is the maximum you're going to be able to charge this with. And it looks like the car charge port is going to be able to give you just shy of that, 10 amps, 126 watts max. Anyway guys, a nice looking manual, shows you how to do everything and how to connect everything. I want to flip over to the app section and see how we need to download the Dabbsson app. So it's just called the Dabbsson app. Keep in mind guys, these guys do have different power stations as well. I have a higher powered one I'm going to be testing very shortly from Dabbsson as well. I believe it is their 1000 model, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, it looks pretty simple. Let's get this app downloaded and check all the settings. All right guys, so I just went to my Google Play. This is a Google phone. If you have an Apple phone, you'll go to the App Store on the Apple device. Found the Dabbsson app here. That's what it looks like. And just going to install it here. It looks like it is almost 50 megabytes, so 47.69 megabytes. Let that download real quick. I did turn the machine off just because I wanted it to be a fresh start in case it needed to sync up when you power it on. So let's see. So it looks like this one is going to need to be registered. So I'm going to do a quick little registration. And then of course, enter your email address and password to get started with the Dabbsson app. Or if you'd like, you can just click on, it looks like since this is the Android app, I can just click on the Google here and it will automatically link me to a Google account. So let's just use a Google account here. And that was quick and easy. If you are logged into an account on your phone, it just uses that login information and immediately gets you in there so you don't have to use an email and password verification. All right, this gives you a little thing. It's going to use your location, etc. for Bluetooth, local network, and storage. So let's enter the app here. Going to need to use our Bluetooth precise while using app. Going to allow it, allow notifications, allow limited access on the photos. That's interesting. Not sure why it needs photos. Maybe I don't want to allow that. Anyway, here we go. So let's add the device. Let's go ahead and turn this on. First power up for our app. And I just want to see that wireless blinking on the right-hand corner. Add a device. And it found it right away, 600L there. That is promising, so we'll just click on it. It does see my Wi-Fi already, so I'm gonna connect to my home Wi-Fi and enter my password. And next step, adding device. So it has this little circle here, filling up with green, indicating that it is adding it to my Wi-Fi. All right, cool, adding successful. So let's just complete it there. All right, and here we go, right into the interface. If you have different Dabbsson devices, they would all be here. You can display them differently up here. And let's just click on it, showing already the serial number, 600L, and the state of charge right off the bat. So let's click on that bad boy. Okay, great. Always like to have an update and go through the updates with you. Fix a new bug. So we have a version update. Let's update now and see how long this takes. Go ahead and update, update. Okay, downloading package has started. Okay, this might take a while. It's taking about 1% every 10 seconds. So go ahead and let this do its thing and then chime in when it's just about done. It is good to note that right here on the screen, I have wireless and Bluetooth are on solid now. So it's simultaneously connecting to both of them when you do that initial connection, which is great because what that means is you're going to be able to monitor this on your home Wi-Fi while you're at home, but when you go camping and stuff and you're not within a Wi-Fi network, you can just direct connect between your phone and Bluetooth and have the same functionality. And that's great. That is missing in some power stations, but I do like to see them have both Bluetooth direct access and your home Wi-Fi access, and this one does. I do like to note small details while this software is downloading and upgrading. I did want to point out, look at that screen. So it's slightly faced up towards the sky. So if you're sitting at my level, you're going to see this just glare angle. So maybe a little bit of a con right off the bat is just the angle of the screen, because you have to go up like this to see anything, and that's a very high glare screen. But I do like to see the new matte screens when possible on these, just so you have less glare. In this case, pretty hard to read unless you're specifically in the shade or in exactly the right spot. Okay guys, wasn't even paying attention. I heard a beep on the power station, and it's just restarting with a percentage, and it looks like it's doing its firmware upgrade right now. So that is promising that it is giving you a percentage on there to let you know what's going on. Okay guys, we are just about there. Being careful not to touch anything or turn it off. Just kind of keeping my phone on here as well and just watching the percentage. That, I want to say, took about 5 minutes to get this far. So it looks like around 5 minutes for each download and then for the firmware flash. And it should be rebooting as far as what it says on the app down here in just a second. There's our 100% mark, and let's see what happens. Yep, there's our reboot. And let's see if everything connects up again automatically, so we don't have to redo that whole process with the phone. Boom, complete. I get a notification on my phone and confirm. No updates available. So it looks like we are at the latest now. Awesome. Interesting little screen here. It looks like you have an option to choose 2 different types of interfaces. That's interesting. Let's see what the differences are. So basically just a different layout, and I don't know, maybe we can figure out which one we want. Let's just go ahead and start with this one over here, and then we'll switch it to see the differences. Okay, well, awesome. That was super easy. The upgrade took about 10 minutes total, and we have kind of a cool graphic for our battery charge. This is the main interface here. We have our input and our output tabs. We can turn off and on AC here, DC. Once we turn on DC, we can see our whole DC port area here. We can turn off and on our LED as well. When we do have that light on, we can flip through the 3 different light modes straight from the app. Very interesting. So lots of controllability here. Let's see if we can even turn off the power station as well. Wow. We can turn it off by the app. And of course, we're not going to have connection to that anymore. So it doesn't look like you can restart it once you turn that off. You're going to have to manually press the button again. Once you are back on, immediately connects. Awesome. All of these outlets are off. So this does look like a full-featured app. We can go into the settings here. You can change the name if you want, copy the serial number, charge discharge settings, normal, fast charge. So lots of great options here, guys. Looks like a normal mode. Looks like you can change between 100 and 120 volts of output. Charging speed, normal mode, 50 watts all the way up to 600 watts. I heard a beep on there as soon as I changed it and clicked OK. Let's see, fast charge, all gonna have the same output. And let's see, charging speed. Unit is currently in fast charge state. So I guess 600 watts is the fast charge. Okay, and then we have quiet mode over here. That goes down to 160 watts. Okay. So you can't change them once they're in fast charge. It just basically changes it immediately between 160 and 600 between quiet and fast. Normal mode, you can select anything you want here on the screen. So just little quick buttons there. Energy management. So this is a full-fledged app and controllability. I'm really liking this. This is great to have if you want to help the longevity of your battery. Never bring it down to 0 and never charge it up to 100%, maybe just a few times here and there, but you want to go between probably 20 and 80 if possible for best battery longevity. So I'm glad that they allow you to set limits there. That's very cool. Just for this first charge, I'm gonna put the limits to maximum. Then we've got time management. So scheduled startup, scheduled shutdown, scheduled charging, and scheduled discharge. Very interesting. I haven't really seen all this stuff in a power station yet. So that's interesting. You can set the schedule. I guess it's using an internal clock to turn itself off and on. That's really interesting. I know some people are asking for these kinds of functions, and you can do this on the Dabbsson. If it's off, it looks like it can start up. You can do it once, daily, weekly, weekday, weekend, whatever you want. Set the times here. Schedule the same thing to shut down. scheduled charging. Very interesting. Once it turns on, you can schedule it to charge off of AC, and boom, you can set all the times for AC charging. Wow, this is really in-depth. The most in-depth I have ever seen on a power station, especially one this small. Scheduled discharge. So this is where you'll have AC and DC schedules. Amazing. So this is just great. If you want it to turn off and on the AC at different times, you can do that. DC as well. Do it here, and power off and on the unit at different times as well. So very, very interesting. Say you wanted to feed your pets at a certain time and all you had is this power, but you wanted to save power by having this thing completely turn off and turn on only when it was needed, and you had an auto feeder for your pets or something like that. This would save you a lot of power, and those little pet feeders barely use any power. So this thing would probably last months of just feeding pets or whatever you wanted to do, of course, depending on the draw and how long it was on. We have another tab down here that's called Other. You can turn that beep off and on if that's annoying. Say you're sleeping next to it with a CPAP machine or something. You can turn that beep off so it doesn't wake you up. By the way, guys, this has a 3-year warranty. So one of the longer warranties I've seen for power stations. Last thing I want to check out is the homepage style. This is what we saw in the beginning. We can change that. So we have it on this style. Let's go to this style. Set as current, and just kind of changes it a little bit. Shows you what your AC and PV input and draw is right here in a cool little diagram. And then power off and on all of our AC and DC here as well. LED, all that stuff. So just a different configuration to test out. Amazing. So probably the most settings I have seen in a power station yet. I'm really liking where Dabbsson is going here with their application. Full-fledged and very, very in-depth. Awesome. Well, guys, let's test this thing out and see how it charges and see how it outputs power. Okay guys, first up I got 200-watt solar panel array set up right here on the driveway. If you want solar panels, go ahead and check down the description and I will have some in there for you. I just have them linked with this wire right to the back of my truck where the Dabbsson 600L is. And let's see how this thing does. So of course all we got to do is go around back here and plug in, remember, to our XT60 port. I do have the power station off. Let's see what happens. Okay, automatically turned on. Great. And we're gonna get kind of variable sun right now. Again, that glare is just the worst on these shiny screens. So I do have a solar panel icon here on the top right that just popped up. Let's scooch over here. Great input, 156 watts, guys, directly from solar panels. And it says right here, 2 hours. And that means from 61%, at this rate, it's going to take 2 hours to charge. The clouds are passing by, so that's going to be variable. Let's try and get it when the sun is directly on it. It looks to me like that's going to be about the best we're going to get right now in this evening time. 157 watts. So I'm loving how it's estimating the time it's going to take to charge depending on the wattage input. Awesome. Can't really ask for more than that. Right around 160. The sun is low in the sky right here, so that's why we're getting a little bit less on the wattage of the solar panels. So we'll see if we can charge it a couple percentage, just maybe for a half an hour or so on the solar. I like how it has a nice animation here. Everything is bright. And remember, this screen will turn off in the 5 minutes I set it, and then you're probably gonna have to hit power. Just tap power to turn that screen back on if you want. Let's let it sit here for a little while, see how much percentage we can get. We're already at 62, awesome. And we'll come by and check in on it, and then do a little charge scenario from the house. And then remember, let's not forget, guys, if I am away from the power station, I can go ahead and start up my Dabbsson app and let us see what we've got here. I'm just going to allow all because that thing keeps popping up. Okay, so it's showing the power station is charging. We'll click on it. There we go. With this graphic here, I can see that I've got 27 watts inputting. Nice little graphic design there. So remember, you can check this anywhere around your property if you're Wi-Fi in your house, or if you wanted to just use it camping. Say you're in your trailer or in your tent and you want to see how your power station is doing with your solar, go ahead and boot up this app and you can connect directly through Bluetooth. All right guys, well, not the best day or time of day to charge. It's been kind of overcast, so let's just see what we got here. So remember, you can just hit the power like I was saying if the screen's off, and we're at 63%. As you can see, we're only charging at 13 or less watts because there's just clouds overhead. It's in the afternoon, late afternoon. It's right around 6 o'clock, early evening, I guess you'd say. So got about 2% in maybe 20 minutes of charging. Of course, we did see it get up to 160, even though it was this late in the day. So we know that all works. Let's go ahead and plug this into a household outlet, 120, and see what kind of charge we get and see how loud it is when it's charging. That's one of the things that people want to know, is how much fan noise there is and stuff. So let's give that a try. But first, guys, we have to try it in the truck. So let's give her a try real quick. Plugging this into the lighter, plugging the other side into the Dabbsson port. Spin this guy around and see what we get when I turn on the ACC, and then also when I start the truck. And just like to see if it picks up on the input and how that all goes. So I'm just turning on the ACC. It immediately recognizes it on the unit. Sorry about the beeping, that's just my door. And we are charging at 46, 56, 65. I don't have the truck started, remember? Wow, so it's gonna, it got up there, clicked off. Not sure if that's just my truck doing that. So quite a bit of alternating here. Let's go ahead and start the truck real quick and see what we can maximum charge it from this truck. This is a 2014 Toyota Tacoma. It's going back up, climbing 90, 100. Can we go any further? Interesting how it goes up and down like that. And now it's maxing out. My truck can only give it 100 watts, it looks like. So at least we know that works. Car charging working fine for this vehicle, 100 watts. And finally, guys, in the power station charging realm, to charge it, let's plug into our AC here. I just have this extension cord running to my house. We'll take this other end and plug it in to the Dabbsson. And just starting off with the Dabbsson completely powered off, and we're just going to initially plug in right here. Okay, I always like to see what it does to start up. And there we go. Let's see what it does with power. And remember, we can adjust this all within the app. It doesn't look like you can adjust it on the unit. That's interesting how I'm getting no input yet. Let's take a look at the app really quick and see what's going on here. Interesting how I'm getting no input. Okay, there we go. That was the problem. So remember that scheduled charging? I had that on for some reason. I'm going to turn all that off. And immediately, check out the power station. It is now going up to 162, 200. I am hearing that fan, and it's definitely louder than DJI. Let's go ahead and go back out here and see if we can see this happening in the app as well as on the power station. So there we go. Looks like it's ramping up to 560 just about, not quite 600. Might have to get its inertia and get going. Sometimes power stations need a little bit of time to get up to their maximum charge rate. Looks like we're maxing out now at 560. Just about 50 dB. So that is 75 dB, guys, on the intake port. Almost 90 on the exhaust port. So good stuff to know. Good stuff to know. Oh, didn't have my mic on. Hopefully you guys could hear that. So just about 90 on the exhaust port. So definitely louder than some of the other power stations that I enjoy, but good to know regardless. So guys, AC power charging, not exactly the 600 I was expecting to get, but I'm just going to leave this here. It says it's only going to take 30 minutes to charge. Remember, this little guy down here is your estimated charge time when you're charging and your estimated usage time when you're using power. So we'll give it that 30 minutes. I'm going to start a timer right now and let's see if we can get to 100%. All right guys, so rounding out the charge, and you can see that it's not quite as accurate as some of the other ones. It's been about 40 minutes. Just kind of turned it off there on the watch, stopped the watch from timing it. Remember, it said it was going to take 30 minutes and it still says it has about 1 minute left to go. It did bring the wattage input down for topping off the battery. So let's see how long it takes to go from 99 to 100%. Again, not as accurate out of the box in its estimation, but they say that if you bring the battery down to 0 and back up again, it can calibrate it. At least that's what they say on the box. Some of the other power stations I've used out of the box are super accurate, but some of them are like this, where you just need to cycle that battery. There we go, we just hit 100%, and we're still getting a 280 watt input about. The fan just turned off, and there we go. Anyway, fair enough. So about 10 minutes over its accuracy on the first charge. Let's go ahead and throw a bunch of stuff at this and see what it can handle. Okay guys, so I pulled out a few things here just to draw some power off of it, see what it can handle. So I've got my drone batteries here for my Mini 4 Pro drone, USB-C type connector. I've got my high-speed phone charger that does, I think, about 60 watts for my phone that I'll be plugging into the AC. We're gonna see how that works. And then remember, this thing is like a 600 watt constant, but it says it can do 1200 watts peak. So this is about 1100 watt kettle, like a electric kettle for heating water. It's about a liter of water in there. And we're just gonna see what happens if we fire this up, when it clips, how much it can take before it clips in that peak scenario. So let's get started here. I do have my phone up. Remember, we can wirelessly link it to the power station. Since it's so hard to see this screen from this angle, I'm just gonna monitor it from my phone so we can see what's going on. All right, so first up, let's go ahead and turn on the AC rail. Just clicking that on right there. And as soon as we clicked it on, we can actually also see it click on the app. That's awesome. Plugging in my high-speed phone charger. We'll go ahead and just turn on the DC rail as well, since we're gonna use that in just a second. And let's just check, there we go. That also turned on, awesome. All right, so just immediately gonna plug in the phone, see what we get going on here from the phone charging. Okay, cool. So now on the phone, I can see I have a 43 watt output. So I guess this is like a 45 watt charger. AC is drawing 43 watts of output, no problem there. Let's go ahead and plug in these drone batteries here. I want to plug this into the high output port here. So that's the 100 output port. And we're looking at the DC here and seeing how that comes out. Seeing what shows up here, 24 watts. Yeah, so that's sort of a fast charge on the drone batteries there. It's actually going up 37 watts now. So it looks like the maximum we're getting is 37 watts. What I'm not seeing on this screen is the time it's estimating left for it to run out of power. On this screen up here, it is saying 5 hours at this draw. So that's roughly, oh, that just went up to 80 watts. So our total output here is 80 watts right now. And it's saying on the machine here that it's gonna last for 5 hours at 80 watts. So I kind of just wanna change this in the settings. Let's see if we can get the other user interface here and see if that's any different. Okay, there we go. Now we can see the discharge. So we got 5.2 hours till complete discharge. Output of 80 watts. So if you want to monitor that estimated just discharge time, you might want to use this screen here, this configuration. But of course you have to switch input and output to see what's going on between both of those. So you can see here the PD100 is outputting at 37 watts and it's just showing here 80 watts total. AC there, 43 watts. So we got to look over to the left here. So kind of random, everything's everywhere in this view, but it's a little more in depth. You can use the other view if you like that graphic better. All right, guys. Well, I think, you know, that lets us know what it's kind of capable of as far as the ports go. Everything's working fine. So, you know, a smaller power station. Let's go ahead and plug in this water kettle and just see what it can really handle if we just kind of push it. So just plugging in the water kettle there, and we'll just go ahead and hit power on. It should turn blue. I'm not sure if this is gonna snap off immediately. I heard the fan come on immediately. We're looking at the AC here, and it's only taking 619 watts total from the AC. So it looks like this actually might have a built-in like heavy lifting mode like some of the other ones have, where if it knows it just can't push it, it's gonna limit the output. And it looks like that's what it's doing, because this kettle is like an 1100 watt, but it's definitely not pulling anywhere near 1100 watts. 620 watts total. So that is interesting. I want to sit here and see if you can even boil a kettle of water at this wattage range, because obviously it's limiting it. And I want to kind of delve into the options really quick and just see if perhaps there is a setting that we missed that you can turn off and on, kind of like that powerlifting limitation mode. So there really is no off and on the kind of like heavy duty power limitation lifting mode. And the reason I'm saying that is because some of these other power stations have this power lifting mode where if it's like an inductive heating device, like something like this, where it's not like smart electronics, all it has is coils for heat, you can run these off of those and it won't damage your electronics, and it will just limit that. And this looks like it's just limited by default. So I'm not sure why they're saying there's like a 1200 watt peak. That may just be because it detects it's 1200 watt and it will start it up like it did this. It started it up because there's at least a switch in there with some lights on and stuff, but it's not allowing it to go over that wattage. So like I said, guys, we'll just hang out here for a minute. I'll probably speed this up. I do see some bubbles forming on the bottom here. You can see in the bottom of the water kettle. So it is heating. It's just a matter of how long it takes. I think it's definitely worth noticing, guys, that if you look at the discharge here on the screen, it is actually saying that it's going to pull this much wattage, which is a total up here of 657 for 0.9 hours. So almost 1 hour at 657 watts of drainage. And to tell you the truth, that thing is starting to boil and heat up. So surprising me that it is not having trouble with this water kettle, with this small of a power station. We'll go ahead and let it go till it switches off. This will switch off when it detects it's a rolling boil and it's hot enough. Let's see how much energy. Right now we have 90% left from 100% of doing all this stuff right now. Let's see how much percentage we have left when that completes a full rolling boil. Okay, there we go. I just changed to the different kind of interface, and if you just click on the battery right here in the middle, then it kind of brings up on the bottom left there how much it thinks you have left remaining time, which is 0.8 hours here. You can also click on the battery and show a health status here. Interesting, we get a graph and a timeline. So quite a bit of information, very cool. Okay guys, as you can see, that kettle just clicked off. Once it reaches a rolling boil and the sensors, temperature sensor in it, detect that, it is done. And that used a total of 15% of all that stuff we just did. So pleasantly surprised that you can actually boil water with this one, with this high output kettle. It just kind of dumbs down the wattage a little bit for it to be able to work. So it took a little bit longer than normal. This usually just takes like a minute to boil about a liter of water, and this took maybe a few minutes to boil it instead of that shorter time. So very impressed. So we could effectively boil, gosh, what, like 5 or 6 kettles of water here if we took this thing camping without even charging it. So that's good to know. But of course you want to run like different devices off of it. One thing I was wondering was this slide thing here. I wanted to see if this just means a power off slide. Let's see what that means. Yes, so that remotely just basically turned it off, and we're not going to be able to turn it back on unless we set that on timer that was in the settings. We have to physically go over here and go ahead and turn that back on there. Let's see how quick it links back up to the app once we turn it on. Just powered on and boom, immediately linked. So very good at relinking, but of course all of the ports are off unless you set it in that time setting. Actually, so let's go ahead and go through a pros and cons, guys. That was a pretty good amount of testing. Let's go ahead and turn these ports back on so my phone can continue to charge while we talk about the pros and cons for the Dabbsson 600L power station. I love how it is mini, it's a light, but it packs a pretty good punch. I like the light on it. The things I don't like about it, the sound, it kind of gets up there when it's working. You may have heard it while we were kind of testing and doing the water kettle test and all that. As soon as that water kettle ticked off, the fan varied its speed down. It got a little bit quieter. So if that's something that's going to bother you, maybe you're going to have it in the room with you, you know, where you're sleeping, that may bother you. So if the fan noise, not as loud as others, but definitely not as quiet as others, it's kind of like right in between. So if that's going to bother you, you may want to keep that in mind when you're purchasing this. Other things what I did like about it was the construction, super durable looking construction, thick plastic. It's not like flimsy, bendy plastic when I push on it. A nice handle to grip it. I do love the connectivity, and the amount of options is unbelievable. I have not seen this amount of options to time all the ports and even time the turn on and turn off of the power station daily, however you want to do it, weekly, monthly. That is going to be a huge selling point for some people. The amount of control you have with this power station. Very cool interface. I love how you can do Bluetooth and wireless. So basically from anywhere in the world, if it's attached to a Wi-Fi router or something that's linked to the internet, you can control this from anywhere you have internet on your phone or tablet. That's awesome. But if you don't have Wi-Fi, like sometimes where we go camping, we don't have any kind of internet. And so at least you can go from your phone to the machine remotely with Bluetooth, because a lot of these don't have just Bluetooth. So that is definitely a great option as well. So one of the cons, I didn't really see it try to kick up to a higher wattage like it says it can peak. Apparently this didn't do that when it was trying this 1100 watt kettle, although the kettle did perform fine, just a little bit longer, remember, in boiling the water, but it could do it. So that was surprising to me that it could actually withstand this high heat, high power 1100 watt kettle. Very surprising. It seems like it just kind of limits its rated output for high power devices like that. So it can still run stuff. So be careful if you're going to run like smart electronics, computers, and stuff like that that are going to require an above 600 watt power consumption, because it may limit the power and you don't want to damage like sensitive devices. So I wouldn't run this on stuff that does require more than 600 watts about of power, because just, you know, the smart circuitry in those devices might get starved for power and you might end up kind of damaging them. I've never done damage stuff like that, but you never know, it could happen. So pleasantly surprised, guys, on the Dabbsson 600L. It did everything I wanted to do it in this test and more. I can't believe it ran that. Bottom line is it's not going to be super whisper quiet like a DJI, but it has that DJI high impact, super durable build factor to it. And then again, when you're picking a power station as well, and you want a small one like this, you want to make sure it has the outlets you want. That's probably going to be a major deciding factor, is the sound basically. And if it has enough outlets. Of course, you could also run just a little power strip on here if it wasn't like a huge amount of power being drawn out of that power strip. You could just do that if you wanted to, and that's always an option. Oh, I guess one more thing that might be a little con to some people is there's no wireless charging on here. It does have this little D on top, but that's just like the brand logo. Some of these power stations have like a wireless charger for like iPhones and other phones that you can just set it on there and do this. This doesn't have that, so that may be a con for some people and a deciding factor. Before we finish this up, guys, I actually wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna go ahead and hook up a dual toaster here, dual bay toaster, and just see if there's any difference between that water kettle. They should just both be redundant inductive heating. But let's just see. Let's go ahead and plug in the toaster here and let's see what we can do. So we'll just leave it on. We'll go all the way up to 7, which is a 2-minute and 21 seconds toast session. Now let's just see what happens. Make sure we have this in display here so we can see what's going on the app. And go for it. Trying to output 784 watts. Wow. So 772 is what the toaster's taking. Let's see how long it can run this. This is surprising. So it's dumbing down the toaster as well. Remember I was saying it is a 1200 watt toaster as well. So it's actually able to keep it running. So yeah, it does have a built-in. So see how it went down again to 620 watts. So it's kind of dumbing itself down again just to be able to run these kind of high output heating devices, and it's not going to trip. So that's great. That's actually really kind of cool to have, where you can still toast your bagels and stuff with a higher wattage. That's getting really hot actually. With a higher wattage device, it's just going to take longer. So really kind of good to know what you can and can't do with this thing. I think that's a great feature built in, but I really do kind of like that feature. All right, let's do another test here. While that's toasting, actually, I changed my mind. Let's go ahead and click on this water kettle. I'm going to unplug my phone here, plug in the water kettle, and boom. Plugging in the water, okay, there it tripped. All right. I was thinking it wasn't gonna trip, but it will eventually trip. Yeah, so the whole AC rail turned off. Interesting. Let's see if we have any warnings here. Nothing on the actual app for warnings, but it does over here on the actual power station screen. Look at that, overload. So let's see how to reset this. Do we just press AC off and on? Okay, just turn it off by clicking it once. Still has the overload indicator there on top. Let's go ahead and click AC back on. Boom, toaster came back on. And that's how easy it is to reset. So it will clip if you're running multiple devices, but if you're running one that's putting it over wattage, it seems to be able to cope with that. And that's really good to know. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think. I usually have a discount code down below, down the description. Go ahead and check that down there. Go ahead and see where you can get the Dabbsson and also a code to get it at a cheaper rate if you get it through my discount code. And also leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of this thing. It is a pretty sleek little mini power station and it seems like it can perform well. Just loving the little light option here because a lot of them don't have this anymore. Some of them, when they were new, they started putting these lights on there and then they started taking them off. But I think something this small should always have that ability just to use kind of like a flashlight or in your tent or something if you wanted to have some kind of a light source. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.